Okay, we're gonna be working on this today. I've already prepped it so you're gonna be able to see all the different stages. But today I'm gonna be blending the new Dusty Blue. I'm gonna be doing Tea Rose and Sawmill Gravy. So we're gonna be doing all three colors. I want this is kind of masculine right now. It's dark, and it's a really cool little container here. And then it's got the drawers here. It's got the little batwing hardware that you see on so many pieces. Okay, so we're gonna be painting this today, and to kind of give you a preview, I just did the first coat on here. That's just a base coat, just to map out where I want it. I've blended it out. We're gonna put some transfers on here, and we'll be doing some blending on the side. I just wanted to get all the coats on so that, one, you can see how I lay out the colors. Two, I want you to see the blending. And three, we're going to be applying some transfers. And the back is already dried enough to put a transfer on, so we'll be applying the transfer to the back, for the sake of time. But I want you to see each and every stage of doing this. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. What I've done to prep this piece is I washed it really well, and you can see by the sheen on it, you can see it. I have just one coat of the Boss on here. So right now I'm gonna use one brush for each color, and I'm gonna map out, based on how I did my sides, I'm gonna map out just kind of like a funny little design, because I don't want it to be ombre. I kind of want it to be like kind of like a hodgepodge of colors. And I don't want to blend in the middle of this drawer. Well, I guess I can blend in the middle of the drawer. So I'll take my drawer out later and touch up behind the drawer. And I'm just going to go straight across and see where. Okay, I might have to add some colors. Actually, I want to go up, and I'll fix it on the other side. So I'm just mapping out my colors because it's my first coat. And I'm going to be blending these colors together. So it's not going to be straight lines. And just laying on the paint for now. Like I said, I will take the drawers out. Actually, getting under that lip right there. I will take the drawers out later and paint behind them. But I want to be able to have the drawer in while I'm blending. Okay, so this is the first coat. By the time we go around to the sides, this will be dry, and I might be able to have time to come back and blend it. But I'm blending the sides for you today, so you'll be able to see the blending. But I want you to see just kind of your first coat. Just map out your colors. They're not set in stone. You can paint over, where you have your colors mapped out at. You can paint over that.
Why do you put your paint in a bottle?
Because I don't like to have my lids open, because when you have your lids open on your paints, it dries them out, makes them thicker. And I don't like to paint out of the container if I don't have to, because you're contaminating your paint. When you put your brush and touch your piece and go back into the container, you're actually contaminating your paint. And to pour it out onto a bowl, every time you pour using a jar, you're getting paint around the lid. And then you end up getting those problems where you can't get your lid open because you have paint around it that's dried. And so unless you're very good about cleaning your lid, I just don't like to mess with it. And when I'm doing small projects, like I'm gonna do one coat, and then I'm gonna go inside and wait for a while before I do my second coat, I can just pour out exactly what I need when I need it, and not have to worry about, pouring paint out, pouring too much out, and then having to pour it back in my container and getting my lid all messy. It's just a cleaner way to work with your paint. You don't have to have them, but I think you'll see most of us do use them just because it keeps our paint fresh. And the less exposure you have your paint, less your paint is exposed to air, it won't thicken, and you won't get the dried clumps on your lid and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so remember to get underneath here. So I'm making this, it was originally pretty masculine because it was so dark. But the lines of this piece do not scream masculine to me at all. They scream very feminine. So that's why I'm going with such light colors. Okay, I'm changing colors. And my next color I'm using is a Sawmill Gravy. Mapping that out. And like I said, this is just the base coat. I'm mapping out where I want my colors located, and then I'll go back and we're going to blend on the sides. laying out my first colors, and here we go. Put that in there. So save it to be dry. Now I'm going to go on to my tea rose. So I'm just mapping it out. That's our first coat. And we'll blend this one now because this one already has its first coat on. When I blend, I like to start from the top and work my way down because when I'm misting, the water droplets are going to like sprinkle down. And if I started from the bottom and worked my way up, every time I mist, I would mess up my bottom. Okay, so I'm misting the pink and then the tea rose and the sawmill gravy first.
Did you say you're gonna do you say you're going to put a transfer on the back?
Yes, I'm going to show you guys the transfer. I'm going to put a transfer on the back. Okay, so I need to get a nice wet coat. Okay. So I misted it, so my surface was wet. Now I put the wet paint on, and I'm going to drag the two together. I want to drag the pink down onto the white, so I'm going to use my pink brush, and I'm just going to feather out that line. So that's how quick that blended out. See how there's not much of a line anymore? The tea rose and the sawmill gravy are two very easy colors to blend together. Okay, so I missed it. Now, let's do the sawmill gravy with the dusty blue. So I misted my surface. I need a fresh coat of paint. Okay. I kind of went a little too high when I put that on there, so I'm going to kind of go back with the dusty rose, or the tea rose. Okay, so mist it. Misting it is like the key. If you need a misting bottle, and you can get them on Dixie Belle's site as well. I think they're selling them now. But the water thins out the paint and allows it to move easily. It also reduces your brush strokes, and your paint goes a lot farther. You'll use a lot less paint if you're misting on your second coat. Okay, so now I'm going to blend this up into the dusty rose, or into the sawmill gravy. Drag it.
Gravy looks more like a tan or...
Yep, it's very creamy. It's a little bit more white than buttercream, I think. And this one I'm going to blend out with a dry brush. It's a little bit more white than buttercream, but it kind of reminds me of buttercream. And just misting because this blue line, I just want it to be feathered just a little bit more. The dry brush feathers it out, kind of gives you that airbrush look. You'll see a lot of people that blend this way. Curing that up a little bit. Okay. So, see how it took away the harsh line? So this right here is just a little dark. Okay, that side's been blended.
What brushes are you using?
I'm going to blend this one out too. I am using the Dixie Belle Minis to put on the paint. And then I'm using, right now I'm using the Oval Small to airbrush it out. But I usually use the Oval Medium. But I'm saving that for tonight because it's a much bigger piece. So I need my Oval Mediums for tonight.
Just here, what color, pink and blue?
The pink is tea rose, and the blue is the new dusty blue. And I'm gonna talk and paint at the same time. The tea rose is the pink. This is my piece. The tea rose is the pink, and the cream is the sawmill gravy. And the blue is Dusty Blue. The Dusty Blue is a new color, so is the Sawmill Gravy. Okay, so I have my little line mapped out from where I put my first coat on. So it makes it easier for me to make a plan. Okay, now I'm going to switch my brushes again. I switch between colors. So I have a designated paintbrush for each color. If I can just keep them up with me while I'm spinning this thing. Okay, and when I'm done blending, if I want to soften the look, I will take my sanding sponge or a 400 grit sandpaper and just soften it out. Okay. Okay. I'm going to go about halfway down because then I'll work into the blue. Okay.
Do you sand your pieces before you start painting?
No. I do not do any sanding. I just cleaned and put a coat of the Boss on. Okay. And I tell you, if you're new to blending, Tea Rose and the Sawmill Gravy are the easiest. The easiest colors to blend. They just blend so nicely together. I mean, I don't have to go back and do another pass. It just turned out right the first time. So, looking for my other brush. Now I'm going to do more of the Sawmill Gravy. And I blend it down into the blue. Okay, based on my front, I need to bring my blue a lot higher. Yeah, I need to bring the blue a lot higher. Running out of places to put my brushes. Okay, so I got mist to my blue. My misting bottle, Diane from Vintage Finder Warehouse, she sent that to me. Okay, so now I'm going to blend it. I'm going to pull this up. I need to mist it. When you get pull marks, you need to mist it. And pull marks or drag marks, or it's also called. It's where your brush starts leaving very distinct lines and marks. Then you need to mist it with water so you can soften that surface and thin out your paint so that it moves farther. See, and this paint has been blending so easily. The only thing I've had to use my dry brush on, the dry brush is to get rid of the lines. Blue and the Sawmill Gravy is the only one that I've had to do that to. The pink didn't require it. So like I said, if you're new to blending, get the Tea Rose and the new Sawmill Gravy. They blend so easily together. Okay. So I kind of blended those out. Looking in the camera so I can see if there's any place that's a little too dark. There. So I'm just trying to make this look more soft and maybe cute for a kid's room. Little different, little out of my element, but okay. Now this is dry, and we're talking about sanding. You know, if you want to get a nice smooth surface, these little sanding pads. This is a little dirty. I've been using a lot. I need to order more. Dixie Belle sells these, but they're a sponge on one side, but they're a sandpaper on the other. So they're really soft, but they allow you to like grip, you know, like bend it and get into areas. So these sanding sponges are really nice. I'm just going to gently go over this. And a lot of people do this if they want that soft, that's kind of loud. A lot of people do this if you want that soft, buttery look.
Do you do a second coat on the legs too, even though you're not blending them?
Yeah, I will. But for the sake of time, since we only got 30 minutes, I wanted to make sure that you're able to see everything. But I will go back and finish painting my legs, but I'm not going to be blending the legs. I'm going to keep the legs solid. But I want you to be able to see putting on a transfer. I wanted you to see blending. Okay, so I'm just going to wipe off this dust, but it gives it a nice buttery feel. But some people, you know, they want that chalk paint look. If you want that chalk paint look, then don't do that. Don't do the sanding step. That's only if you want that really to soften it up. Then you would use the sanding paper. But some people like to have that a chalk paint look, and so I mean, sanding it defeats the purpose for them. I was thinking of putting that flower there.
Can you use the 000 pad instead of that pad?
You could, but I wouldn't. I would prefer to do these. The steel wool does leave, I use that for all of my finishing, like my top coats. I use the steel wool for that. The steel wool, you know, leaves that kind of metally dust. And so I don't want, since I don't have it sealed yet, I don't want that metally dust on here. So use a sanding sponge or get yourself a sheet of 400 grit sandpaper and sand it with sandpaper. That is the preferred way to do it. Okay. And turn this so I can see it, center it. I'm gonna put that at the bottom and at the top. I'm gonna eyeball it. Just fell. Okay, so now when you're putting the I know you can't see me, but I want you to be able to see this. I'm gonna bring you in closer. Okay.
What transfer is that?
I'll have to look up the name on it. Prima sent it to me and they didn't send it in a box, so it had no name on it, so I gotta look up the name. And if anybody recognizes it, go ahead and yell. But you do not seal your piece before you put a transfer on. You do not put wax on your piece before you put a transfer on. This needs to be right on the paint. And you can't, and I know the question comes up, can you put a transfer on metallics? Yes. But one thing you want to keep in mind is if your transfer has a white picture, those sometimes can be a little translucent. So if there's a color behind it, it can muddy up whites just a little bit. So if you have a transfer that has a lot of whites on it, I would not put a white transfer on a dark piece, or unless it's one of they have some all white transfers that are meant to be put on a black piece. So if there is a dark color underneath, if you have a large white flower, just know that it might darken your flower just a little, because it might be a little translucent. Okay, I gotta be careful so I don't accidentally. Normally I would lay a piece of plastic on here, a plastic sheet to protect this paint, but I don't have one of it readily available right here. So I'm gonna be very careful not to accidentally scratch my paint. Some people will ask, you know, when you're pressing so hard, does it make a mark in the paint? No, it doesn't.
Why are you putting on a transfer on the backside?
Because the back is finished. I want it to be finished all the way around. And I'm gonna put transfers all the way around this thing. But I wanted you to be able to see how it's gonna look. The front of the piece, you have to wait until you put your paint on, you wait till the next day before you put a transfer on it. That's why I prep the back, you know, first, so that the paint would be dry enough to put a transfer on it. I mean, if you use a heat gun, I mean, you could probably, you know, do the transfer a little early, within, you know, a couple hours, but it's recommended that you wait 24 hours before you put a transfer over your paint. So I prep the back so that I can still take my before pictures of the front. Okay, so let's test this and see how this is doing. Okay, so see how pretty that's gonna look? But these transfers are, I mean, I'm obsessed with them. I put transfers on a majority of my pieces just because it's such an easy way. Now I gotta center this one. I hope my eyeballing center is working because I didn't want to take out a tape measure. Let me just turn this for a second. But yeah, you can put these on windows, you can put them on glass, you can put them on pretty much anything. Wait, eyeball. I think that looks good. I hope that looks good. I love these colors with this transfer. And I like anytime I can use tea rose, I jump on it. I love tea rose. It's such a soft, pretty color.
Can you put water-based top coat before the transfer?
No, you can't put any top coat before transfer. No wax, no top coat, nothing. You want to put it directly on the paint because if your transfer needs something to grip onto, and right now I'm burnishing it into the paint. And if the top coat is going to prevent it from really adhering to the paint. So, I mean, even if it does work well, it could be 2 weeks down the road, and then after you sealed it, all of a sudden you're wondering why your transfer is peeling up. It needs a porous foundation for it to stick to. And on glass, you need to make sure that you clean your glass with like an alcohol wipe. Make sure it's very clean, because if there's any grease or dirt or fingerprints between the transfer and the glass, then the transfer is going to adhere to the grease from your fingers. It's not going to adhere to the glass. It needs something to adhere to. And you can seal them with you can seal these with a clear wax. I use either a clear wax, or my preferred choice is Dixie Belle's clear coats, either in the flat or the satin. Those are my preferences when it comes to sealing a transfer.
If you use transfer on window or glass, or do you seal it afterwards?
No, because you're only using it for decorative purposes then. And I mean, because if you put a sealer on it, you're actually going to make your glass look foggy. So no, you wouldn't. You just be, you care for it gently. How does that look? I love it. I love that transfer. I will find out the name of this transfer. I got to look it up in their catalog to see the name of it. Like I said, when they sent it to me, they didn't send it to me in a box. It was for me to do some demo pieces with it, and so I didn't get the name of it. Now, what I'm doing right now is I'm rubbing it really good with my fingers, just making sure that there's no air bubbles at all. And there is none. Because if you have an air bubble, that also will interfere with how well it's going to last over time. You got to make sure, I'm rubbing my fingers all over it. You got to make sure that all your edges, your corners, even the centers, everything is down flat. There's no bubbles. I think it's going to look nice and feminine. I still have to blend the front. See, the front hasn't been blended yet. Because I'm using the cream, I'm probably going to wait till this dries and put one more coat on the cream, because I can see a little bit through it. I'm going to let this completely dry. I'm going to put a second coat of the cream on. My pink and my blue are good. The white kind of needs another coat. And then I'm going to blend these together. I haven't decided on the hardware yet. And, but see how soft? Look at that pink. Like I said, if you are new to blending, get yourself some tea rose and some sawmill gravy or drop cloth, aged ivory, buttercream. Get any of those colors with your tea rose, and it'll be the easiest blending. Those two colors, I don't know what it is about the two colors, but they blend out. You saw, I didn't even have to use a dry brush on that at all to get that smoothness, and I did have to use the dry brush a little bit with the blue, but that pink, this blends right out. The top I'm going to do probably in tea rose. The top I'm going to do in tea rose, and I'm probably going to blend the sawmill gravy in the center. These two colors. So the whole outside will probably be tea rose, and then I'll have some highlighting of the sawmill gravy in the middle. But I want to get my body done first, so it kind of speaks to me. Okay, I said I was going to get it done in 30 minutes because I didn't want to keep you long. Now, there we go. Okay, so I'm loving how feminine this is going to look. I'm going to finish this up, and I'll post pictures as well. And if you have any questions, I'll go back and watch the video, answer all the questions. You can check out my YouTube channel at Fashion Toppings. Don't forget to like and follow me over on my Facebook page, which is AJ's Vintage Designs. I do free painting tutorials every Friday night at 10:30 Eastern Standard Time. And hashtag AJ's Pals. That's awesome. Okay, love and hugs, and see y'all tonight.